Welcome back to our Scala to Spark class, and today we will talk on our day 29 we'll talk about window functions. So again, a very similar concept to what's done in regular SQL when we perform some aggregation functions over some window. So for example, you have maybe a window of 5 previous rows and you want to perform some sort of calculation, maybe a rolling average, for example, previous average, or a moving average, or something similar like that. So that would be one of the ideas. So that's what we think. Again, we have rows and we have a window frames, which basically covers some windows. So to get started, we will use so again, it's an aggregation on some specific window of data, right? And it's defined by a reference to whatever we are currently, right? So again, so a group by takes data and every row can take only one grouping, right? Window function calculates return value for inside for a frame, basically, right? So we looked at this in our previous course in SQL when we did some partition by, and we cover like rank functions and things like that. So we'll see how it works in Spark. Very similar concept, right? So ranking functions, analytic functions, and aggregate functions. So again, as usual, we start with our day 29 window functions. Day 29 window functions. An object, of course. So of course nothing to do with regular Microsoft Windows, of course, right? So again, print line. I'll do quickly. We are still on chapter 7, window functions, and again, so this is again the idea is quite similar to what we do in a regular SQL. Okay, of course I will do something. We'll probably use something we already used before, right? Something like, yeah, something like this, right? But of course I need also Spark, right? My Sparky, not everything. I'm not gonna get everything. I'll do maybe something quicker. This is UDF, right? No. Maybe user defined functions. No, not that. Something simple. Aggregations, right? Something like this. Okay, but I won't do all. I will do a regular Spark. We need a regular Sparky, of course. Well, Spark session, get Spark, right? Sparky, and of course, and we get also, we have this cancel, right? And this is not the right one. We want, of course, import, but this file path will use something from here, right? I'll use 1st of December because I have it open. So copy path from repository root, and this is what we're going to use. Of course, I could have used this, by the way, again, right? But the wildcards work now, but we'll use this one here. Okay, so that should set us up for the work. Let's test it, see if it works, and then we can proceed onto the window functions. While it's running, we'll let it run. So idea is basically, again, so we'll have to define it, but first, in order for demonstration, we'll create some compile finish, no warnings. Nice, IntelliJ gives us nice little notice. Okay, everything worked, I assume, so there's no warnings that everything is fine. And it's still running. 15 seconds. Yeah, okay, it's fine. We are just fine. Okay, of course. Right, so we are going to create a new column. So this will be, we add a new column and basically create a view, basically, for this particular data frame, another view, right? So, right, we need to date, right, there we go, on column as well, right, column, yep, okay, that works. So this is just a helper. First we create a date, right, and I'll move this to down here, right here. Okay, so we have a due date and we have a column somewhere up here. Yep, we do. Okay, and then we go down to So we need a window specification. So basically we're going to use this window, and we use something a similar idea. It's again, it has nothing to do with the partitioning as far as Spark engine is concerned, right? That's an important point, right? So don't confuse with the other partitioning. Again, so naming things is important. So partitioning, we have different so partitioning scheme. That is something about how the engine allocates data, right? But that's not something we are going to be using here, right? So basically, we're going to say which how are we going to use the we're going to basically have a window specification, basically, right? So up to, right, so important point here, we partition by customer ID date, and this will be basically up to, for now, rows between window, unbounded preceding, and windows current rows. So this is all up to current, right? So also we're going to do ordering. It's not exactly needed directly, right? So on partition by customer ID and date, right? So let's take a look how it works, right? So each window, right, will be for specific customer ID on a specific date. Well, of course, here I guess I should use the wildcard, I guess, because it'll be more interesting, right? It'll be more interesting data since the date is actually, right? So window I need to import, import class, I believe it is, good question now, I think it's here, yeah, I think so, yes. Yeah, window in data frames, partition by, yeah, something like this. Okay, that looks correct. So that's a window spec, it's actually called window spec, right, type class. Again, of course, as usual with Spark, nothing is done until we actually, you know, it's all lazy, right? It's not eager. Again, it's just a specification. It will only start working when we actually do something like show or collect, something like that, right? Or coalesce, right? So, okay, and rows between. So this is the important point here. This is maybe not completely needed, right? But quantity we ordered by quantity. So let's do. Since this is, let's do a wildcard, right? I want to do a wildcard. So, where's my wildcard? Where's my wildcard? Yeah, I'll use wildcard, right? Because that's more fun, right? So, okay, now we have a window spec. Again, so now we have window spec. We can actually. So we will use something like this, right? We are going to maybe we want to do maybe maximum purchase quantity over all time, right? So we use same aggregation functions, right? So what's the difference, right? It's again we keep so basically we don't remember what's the difference between group by and window functions. Remember in our SQL class, what's the main difference? Aggregate versus window functions, right? Versus window functions, right? SQLite, right? Images, right? Yeah. So that's the main difference, right? So when you do aggregation by something, right, you'll have an answer. Window functions, you have you don't lose the rows, basically, right? You keep the same rows, but you gain ability to perform some calculations, right? Again, so a very similar idea, right? You can see how it's different. Again, so that's a concept, right? So again, with aggregation, you group by something typically, right? And well, you apply this aggregate function and you get a single answer. With window functions, you basically have a function. It will use some of these rows for calculations, which we define, right? And we'll be able to have a new column or maybe multiple columns, right? So that's the idea. So we have spec, right? We'll use the same aggregation function, right? So here we are going to define a max column quantity over window spec, right? So it's going to be sorted by date, right? So let's take a look. This is one of those hardest, but probably the hardest thing, one of the harder things in analytics. although the concept is not that, I don't think it's that horrible, right? It's actually quite useful, right? But just how it works. Right, so now I have this. What is this? I need max. Of course, I need to correct. The max has a problem. It's too common a name, so I need to define here, right? Because there's a lot of different maxes, right? So I have to define that. And so this is what? It's a column, right? Max column quantity over window spec, right? It's just a column. It's not a data frame. It's not, again, it's still lazy, right? Right? So now we can use this in a data frame, sorry, in a select statement, right? So we will use dense rank, right, on which date had the maximum purchase quantity for every customer, right? Basically, why dense rank? Remember, there's two different ways of ranking, right? Because there could be gaps in the ranking sequence. So when there are tied values, you don't want to basically don't want the gaps, right? Remember how dense rank versus regular rank, right? Rank versus dense rank, right? It basically, right, in SQL, right? Stack Overflow, right? You can see it here. The answer is that, right? It doesn't skip, right? Dense rank, right? Well, this is kind of silly, but I mean not silly, but it's just so rank and dense rank. Right? You see, you don't skip. So 1, 1, 1, right? And 4, right? That's regular ranking. And dense ranking, you have if you have tie breaks, the next second. This is so again depending how you want to use it, right? So there are no skipped rankings, right? It's 2, 3, 3, 4, 5, right? So that's the basic idea. Okay, so we'll use this again. You can use either one depending on what you need, of course, right? So, but it's slightly, the syntax is slightly, again, it's a little bit hard. So because we had the partition scheme, right? Partition, we had the Windows spec, right? Then we have a column. We define a column over this Windows spec, right? And we are going to actually get the ranking, right? It's going to be dense ranking. So basically dense rank over Windows spec, right? And purchase rank over spec, right? You can use either one, right? So okay, and then we're still not done. We are still not done. We're almost done with our ranking, right? Getting it actually in production. So dense rank, I need to import it. It's from functions. Rank is also, again, such a common word that you want to use it here, right? You use it here, you add ranking, and you have a way of both functions, basically dense rank, and of course you can always click, right, and see what the help says, right? Again, extremely similar to the, well, exactly like same idea as dense rank in regular SQL. And rank is just like rank in SQL. Okay, so now that we have the functions ready, again over the Windows spec, again, so you need to provide, so but okay, let's think about this idea. So what we have done, we said, okay, here's the Windows specification, so what rows to include, right? And what does the Windows specification says? It says partition by customer ID date, right? And order by quantity, so for each ranking will apply to a unique combination of customer ID and date, right? Basically, that's so for each date and each customer ID, you'll have a new ranking. That's what if I'm not mistaken is happening. So let's double check and let's actually see it in action, right? So now finally, we can actually do this selection basically. So where customer ID. So first of all, we need a customer ID. Notice we need first a filter. We need a filter, right? So now finally, we are ready. So finally we are ready. Finally, we are ready to get some rankings. Okay, so we're going to select customer ID, column date, quantity. Again, remember we don't lose when using these, right? These rankings, right? We don't lose other columns, right? So let's get everything here, right? And show. I would also like to see date. Yeah, okay, we'll see date, customer ID, quantity, right? And quantity dense rank, right? And right? Let's see what's happening underneath, right? So let's do maybe let's do maybe 30 rows. I don't know, 20 rows, false, right? See, so you have 1, 2, 3 columns, 4 columns. Again, this is also a column, right? Column, right? Quantity dense rank. So let's see. Maybe we should have maybe ordered by well, date. It's going to be ordered. Let's see what happens here, right? As we can see, now it's time to see actually where the rubber meets the road, see where the what kind of data we'll have. Oh my god, we have an exception. So something didn't work. Did we? Okay. We ordered by customer ID, so something's missing. There's some. Okay. Okay, we have a problem in a query. Okay. Aha. Okay. There's a problem. Okay. So the problem is not in the actual job. The problem is in time. Okay. So, or set to correct it and treat it as invalid datetime string. Okay. So now, or time Spark upgrade exception. So the problem is this applies to Spark before 3.0, right? So it failed to parse the 4th of January, and apparently there is some issue here, right? Again, this is the new parser. So what do you do, right? You can do Spark legacy time parser policy to legacy, right? So maybe let's do that, or you can say corrected. So there are two options. We can do legacy or see corrected. So let's see how it's done. So we basically need to set a configuration, basically, right? Let's do this let's see if anybody else has had this problem, of course. And again, so it should be, yeah, Spark to date, right? Spark and Spark SQL. Okay, here it is, right? Set Spark SQL legacy time parser legacy. Let's do that. Let's see if that should do it. Again, this is actually in Python, but doesn't really matter. It's the same type of, again, the engine underneath is actually, this is this year, somebody from Georgia, maybe, Cherlidze, I don't know, right? We had a question. So it is actually something that people have had it. Right. Well, what's the alternative? We can do it timestamp. Yes. So that's another. So there's so somebody from last year said we can parse, or you can use one digit here. Yes. So we have 3 ways. You have a couple ways of doing it, right? So let's see which one works best, right? Of course, going to legacy, it's possible, right? But again, this is something you might need to fix. That's why working with older versions is sometimes preferred. You have things which work exactly. It's been working forever, right? So there's this part here, right? So this is the problem here, right? So we will adjust this, right? So Spark, newest version, and to date. So we could try let's start with this easiest trick, right? Timestamp and to date. You see, that will work. Look how okay. So to date to timestamp. Okay. So we can do simply to timestamp. That would be maybe to timestamp. That's one way of doing it, right? So this apparently works. That's a cheap one way of doing it. Kind of silly, but yeah, why not? Right? To timestamp, I need to, of course, import it. Right? See if this gives us any problems. There are multiple ways of solving it. Multiple ways of solving it. Right? Change to legacy parser. Go to convert to timestamp. Timestamp first. Maybe use different format. Okay, let's try it. We'll probably do that afterwards. See if this works. We'll try the other ones. So this is slightly, it's like a hacky way of doing it right now. So to timestamp, you sort of, if you had a code review, if I was looking at this, let's say, okay, maybe is there a better way of doing it? Okay, so, but we do have some things. Okay, so we ordered by customer ID and we don't have a date. Oh, what's happening here? Right, so it didn't work. Timestamp date. So it sort of works, but looks like there's a ranking by customer ID and there's no date. I wonder, is there such thing as no date? Because apparently it's possible not to have a date, right? Because there's negative quantity, so apparently, yeah, it works for those times when there is a, yeah, so at least, well, actually, okay, so it's a good way of showing this, right? So we can see the ranking and dense ranking, right? Of course, for that particular date is null, right? So it's a date, right? It's just nothing non-existent, right? And so you have a quantity and you have ranking. So how many on that particular day? So this is the both most, right? Dense ranking, and here you should see a difference at some point. Well, there is 333. Why is not dense ranking? Oh yeah, here it is. Okay, you see the difference here. Okay, you see the difference. A regular ranking will give you 9 because you had these 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 9, right? And here you have the dense rank. It says, okay, that was okay, third place. You had tie breaks. Everybody gets a bronze medal, but the fourth place, right? Not to hurt his feelings or her feelings, we'll give them fourth place, right? Even though technically it's not ninth place, right? Again, depends what you want, and you can see what's maximum purchase quantity for that particular, so for this particular customer, right? On this particular day. So again, so we're looking at basically these unique date combinations. Okay, it works, but let's see if we can do maybe something better. So this is one way. I'll do Control D, right? And I'll go back to. So this seemed to work, but I'll skip the timestamp, right? But maybe use the formatting, right? I'll use the format. They mentioned that this format is actually, they mentioned you need to use something else. The newer version, yeah. It said that this will work. That's interesting, right? Again, so what's the idea? Basically, why the older format, it failed, right? Oh, but actually it is here. It's correct here, right? So it didn't work. Okay, this is the Spark Apache documentation, right? Data and patterns, right? M, months of the year. D, day of the year, right? MD. And, oh, sorry, where is it? And, okay, that's it. Again, where we go here, right? MD. Y. Okay, let's try it. So, let's add this help. Right, formatting here, right? So we'll use this one. M D, I guess, right? And Y, right? Let's try this, right? See if this works, right? And our H and M, right? Well, we'll see. And again, maybe I'll do df show maybe 10. Or 5 or 3. Okay. So dealing with dates is always slightly painful. Okay, no, will it be red? No, it looks like it worked. Okay, so we fixed this. There's two ways of fixing it. That's interesting enough now. We actually got a parse. So this was actually a valid date. But this still is not parsing. So again, this is actual real date, 18th so apparently this date is not parsable. So a question would be, of course, see how many null dates we have. But you can see the idea, right? So on this 18th of January, right? So okay, so what can we do here, right? Okay, everything works, but Windows spec order by quantity, right? Of course, we order that. That's fine. However, select here. order by customer ID, right? But we don't have to do this. We can order by, let's order by date, right? And then customer quantity, right? Maybe first, right? Let's order by date. So Control D. I'll scope this. So we'll do date and then customer ID, right? Customer, yeah, so tie break is date, so tie break first, so second tie break would be customer ID. Okay, of course you don't have to use it, but then it will be hard to say what's going on. Right now at least you'll see order by so date, for each date we will have the customer ID. We'll see if this is, we can do descending maybe, right? Order by and descending, right? We could do that, right? Right, maybe let's do that. Okay, let's take a look. Okay, I guess I didn't. Okay, date, and yeah, the tiebreak was this. Why isn't it working? I'm wondering why this order by date. Is it really just there's no more dates? Is it really just all nulls? That seems that there's something wrong with the parser. Only single 18th of only single. It's still ordering by customer ID. That doesn't make sense. Let's try descending. Let's try descending, right? Yep. Oh, why? Okay, let's see how that works. Okay. Oh yeah, descending and then ascending, right? Okay, we need that as well. Okay, let's do it. Let's do it. It's possible that there also the newest dates are. It should pick up more dates. Let's see. Okay, it worked, but we're still getting all these nulls. So I have this bad feeling. Why is not? Did I make a mistake somewhere here? It's not. It's fine. Order by select. Right. Ascending date. And then we have ascending numbers. So how about this? Let's do descending. What's happening here? This certainly should not work. So are we just not importing correct file? Maybe. Maybe I did the wrong place. No, this were the first off. This looks okay. So what's the story here? What's the story with our date? Or date? It seems to work, but seems to work very horribly badly, right? Only we have single date. So what's happening here? This format is not going well. Maybe we'll try it. Right, we can do the legacy parsing, right? So that might be actually when I need to do the legacy parsing. So it's not parsing correctly. All right, let's do one more time. yeah, it's not going well. It's just not picking up. Or did I do something completely wrong here, ordering by date? Or maybe it's actually, it's because of these rankings, right? It's ordered by, it's the way it's organized, maybe, right? So, okay, well, let's see what the book says on the, well, okay, let me see first if, okay, double check, right? Does this work actually, right? So, we have date, right? So I'll do this Spark, SQL, right? Select distinct date, right? From df with date, right? See what happens now. Right, let's see what happens. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. I mean, of course, I mean, saying it's a parser, right? I'll try not to blame myself, but yeah, it's possibly there's something is going wrong with the parsing, or something suspicious. Again, so always be suspicious of, you know, of results. Don't just trust the computer. Trust yourself. Let's see. Okay, looks fine, right? No, it looks fine. There's some dates. Okay, so that's fine. But so what's happening? I'm thinking is that actually the ordering is actually not done. This particular ordering here, right? The engine, right? The engine here is not doing the ordering in a correct. It's basically there's reordering happening later on. That's what I'm only thing what I'm suspecting. This order by is not really functioning. We have all these bad. You see, we have null. We do have null, but we have also all these dates. So we could of course count, right? So how many dates we have, and let's see if this actually works. Right, and we could do print line. Right, we could do show count. Right. And we could do this instead of show. We could do print line count, right? Right, it's simple, right? Number of unique dates, right? Or I could do min max, right? I could do that, of course, and so on, right? I can count. So how are we doing time-wise? We have like 15 more minutes. Yeah, we can do it. What happened here? Did I do something wrong? No. 24 dates. That looks kind of bad, right? So what did go wrong here? So something is not, yeah, so that's too little, right? Yeah, too many null dates. So there's the parser is not, okay, so what we can do, let's try the last idea here in the book. I mean in the, this, so this also, so let's do a legacy, right? So we would do legacy, right? Now let's try this one, right? Let's do this, right? That would be a way of doing it. Maybe that will actually solve our pain, right? So none of them really seems to be what we want, right? So yeah, we'll do basically set setting, right? So legacy on, then, right, it should work, right? Okay, so let's try this approach. Oh, come on. Okay. Right. newer format. This is the old one, and see if this works now. Okay, we can't space. Okay, so this is from the book, right? This is legacy formatting. Okay, let's try this. So we set the legacy, and then we see if this works. Maybe then finally we'll have something to write. I guess a little technical issue with these dates, right? So legacy means old. How we parse it. Okay, 305. That's much better. Oh, thank goodness. So yeah, that's much better. And now, yes, we do have it. We do have the dates, and now we have the ranking. Okay, so it looks good, right? We have quantity for the date by that customer, right? So we see how the ranking works, and everything looks much better. Again, date 1207, but again we ordered by customer ID. So what's happened here is that partition by customer ID and date, right, in our Windows spec, and I think that took precedence over this ordering here. That's the only little slightly confusing thing. Okay, now that we have solved our issues, let's look at how would you write this whole thing in a regular SQL. Well, you'll see it's pretty crazy, because so this is one of those times when Spark syntax, I think, is preferable over regular SQL, because you have to define all these rank, quantity. You have to say, you select first, you select 3 different normal columns, but then for each of these extra columns, right, you have to say rank, quantity, and how your partition scheme is for partitioning. What kind of window are you going to use for this, right? For this rank, for this dense rank, and for this max, right? So, and also remember this unbounded preceding. You have to write this. This is important, because how far back do you go, and how far do you go in the current row, right? So you stop at the current row, right? So order by quantity, right? And notice how it's ordered by quantity. Order by customer ID. Okay, let's try this whole big thing and see if this works nicer. And so Spark SQL. Okay, pretty again. So this would be really hard to debug if you're writing this from scratch, right? Again, you make it's most likely you would make a mistake. So probably a good thing to practice is just regular, I don't know, dbeaver or something where you have some similar data, and try to do it in regular SQL, because it will match. The syntax should match. Okay, so let's try this, and maybe. Yeah, we have a filter and show, of course. Show 20 false. Okay, it worked. Okay, very nicely. And so again, we see very nicely it worked quite nice. I'm still wondering why it's only okay. Yeah, because customer ID. Okay, so this event again. We order by customer ID. Okay, but let's try this different again. So I will use. Can we order by date? No, let's keep customer ID, but descending, right? Right. Descending, right? Okay. So they'll see from the last customer, right? We'll see how that works, right? I just want to see what's happening. So. Hopefully by now you can see why we need to do so much preparation in Spark, because in using SQL syntax we had to do all these extra steps to make these partitions for your ordering for your windows. Okay, count 305, and we should have it. Okay, so our biggest last customer was on May, right? And again, of course, they bought some things before, I would imagine. Okay, so the ranking, right? They bought 60. So notice again, so this max purchase, of course, applies immediately because we did this quantity ranking. So question is now, okay, but I didn't order by date, right? So customer ID, but ranking is all over place, right? Why is it so? Because we used in here partitioning, right? Customer ID date, right? It is ascending, and I'm going down, right? I'm going down. Maybe let's do add ascending date. Right. Of course, ascending is default, so it's a given. Okay. Okay, did anything change? No, I guess it's the same date, right? So actually, we can also see the rank and then rank, right? And so it skips over because we didn't order, but maybe we need to order by quantity. I see. Okay, yeah, date and then quantity, I guess, right? Quantity descending, right? Then we would see it, right? Date is not really, yeah. So let's try that. Okay, this is more clear. 60, yeah. So yeah, we can see since we did the partitioning by customer date or by quantity, this quantity is also useful here. We can see, okay, yeah, this customer on that date, the quantity was important for that particular date. You can see, right, there's tie break, right, and there is a regular dense ranking and regular ranking. Okay, the maximum of items bought so far, right? So yeah, let's add minimum. Let's do add minimum, right? Let's add minimum. So we can do this extra, right? So comma, right, as min purchase. Why not? Since I'm on a roll, right? Okay, min, right? Right, and min purchase. So it should be what, 60? But then as we go, the min purchase should change, right? It's all max purchase, but it should be 48 and so on. As we add more purchases, it should go up down to the minimum, up to the date, right? So you'll see this how that works as well. And current row. Okay, let's try it. Okay. Yes, you see how minimum, maximum. Okay, so we start with single row because again, this is all of these are in the same window. By the way, right? This is same window because we partitioned by the ID and the date, right? So the same window, and you can see how you go down on the numbers. Basically, numbers keep the maximum stays. Rank, of course, you have new ranking, and then you have the minimum starts going down because it's up to this moment here. This is the minimum so far, and this maximum so far out of this grouping. Okay, so let's see. We have a little bit more time, right? And I'll probably want to do a one more exercise. But yes, so this will be let's do an exercise for you. So to do read all. Okay, so we have all of this. I want you to order, let's see, window spec. What kind of window are we going to use? Let's think about it. We want a window ranked by what? So use create window spec for, let's think, what can we order by? Nicely, we had the customer ID, which is kind of natural. Again, probably country and the date. Yeah. What else is good here? What else could you do here? Stock code, right? We could yeah, that would be partitioned by stock code, right? On date, right? Yeah. Like which partition partitions by stock code on date. Where's my date, right? Yeah. And order by price, right? Ordered by price, right? And let's see what else we want. Yeah, and of course again rows unbound preceding again with rows unbounded preceding on current row. Okay, right, and then what I want to do, right? We have rankings, so I want the max min, create max min for this price. So create max min on dense rank and rank for the price. Right, so basically here like this, right, over the window spec, right, over the newly created window spec. And then of course now finally I want to see this select again, check, and so show, you know, top 40 results by date. Let's see, we ordered by stock code and date, so let's by ordered by in descending order by stock code, right? Again on and then I want to see, of course, so what will happen actually? Will this actually do anything interesting? So the price probably won't change, right? So quantity does change, right? So maybe we'll see some price change. It'll be interesting to see actually. So will be actually this thing gonna be stack code, right? On price, right? Right. So on of course show max min dense rank and rank for, you know, every row as well, right? No, so okay, so let's see, you know, partition according, right, or of course using our newly created columns, right? You know, min, max, dense rank, and rank, right? Okay. Or we can also do, of course, average again as well, right? Okay, so something like this. So relatively a little bit tricky, right? You can use, of course, you can use, you can use Spark, or regular Spark API or functions, or you can use Spark SQL, of course, right? So kind of difficult, right? Let's see if you can do this. Okay, stop, and see you on Thursday at 9.